And we are live. So welcome to the last in my series of World Mental Health Day 2021. And this is all about my story series, where I've been inviting guests on to talk about their story. And today I'm talking to Sue Boardman and Kellie Vvind. Is that right, Kellie? Have I said it right? Yeah. All about post natal depression and their experiences with that. So, first of all, please, would you just introduce yourself and just say what you do, and then we'll move on to talk about your story.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Sue Boardman. I'm a body confidence and wellbeing coach. So I help women to end the dieting cycles and implement a healthy lifestyle that brings them real confidence and joy, so that they know that they're good enough and don't need to rely on a diet or a scale to tell them that. That's
me. And Kellie?
Hi everyone, I'm Kellie. I'm an NLP and a self-talk coach. So I help women master their negative self-talk, so that internal voice they got that I call Betty, that inner critic. We work on that so they can move forward in their lives.
Fabulous. So let's start with your stories. So which one of you wants to go first?
I don't mind. Should I go first?
Go on.
So I had my son 12 years ago. It was his 12th birthday yesterday. And when I had him, it was the first time that obviously I had experienced Post Natal Depression. I didn't get diagnosed until 2.5 years. He was 2.5 years. Right. Even though I knew I wasn't well, I knew there was something going on, but I was so scared to tell anyone or admit how I was feeling for the thought of being a bad mum and being a failure, because every day I beat myself up about those things anyway. But I bonded with my son. I loved my son because everyone experiences it quite differently. But I didn't want to be in the house. So anytime I didn't like being alone with him. So wherever I could, I found people to be with. I would escape from the house as soon as my husband came home so he could take over. I would, it caused a lot of ructions in my house because my husband didn't know what was going on. And come the weekend when I thought it would be like a safe time, because it would be me, my husband and my son, he'd want to go to football and I would turn crazy as he thought. There would be bags thrown out of the window where I'd be like, no, you can't go to football, well get out then. And really all I wanted to say was, I'm really struggling, please stay home with me, I need help. But I did, it came out in different ways. And the breaking straw was I went on a cultural exchange for a week in Gambia without my son, and I missed him, but I didn't want to come home. I actually bawled my eyes out crying at the thought of coming home and coming back to my reality, because I had escaped for a little bit. And then I knew that actually it was time to try and sort this out. I was sick of being unhappy, just feeling low, not being myself. You just feel like you're hiding as well. You feel like you're hiding. You're putting a smile on for everyone else, but you're dying inside. And I went to the doctors, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to verbalize how I was feeling, because I knew as soon as she said, "Oh, how are you? What's wrong?" I'd be like, "Oh no, it's okay. I'm fine." So I wrote a letter. I wrote her a massive letter of exactly how I've been feeling for the last 2.5 years. Gave it to her, and I broke down in tears. And she was just like, "You've kept this in for a while." And I was like, yeah, for a while. So that is up until that point. But then it got worse for the next year. It didn't get better, it got a lot worse. But I think I'd opened the floodgates to everything. And then it got worse. And I went on to antidepressants. But the first lot I had didn't react well. They had the reverse effect. So I became very suicidal. Changed them, but I'm really inconsistent with tablets, so I think I was constantly on them, so I was at a level, then off them, so I was doing this for a year as well, on and off. And then the in that year, it resulted in I became so overwhelmed with how I was feeling that there was no escape. I ended up self-harming then. And I think I was 24 years of age when you're self-harming, and then people find out once it's all over is really, I felt really ashamed and embarrassed.
Yeah.
With, because I felt bad that they felt bad as well. So I was not concerned with myself. I was concerned with how that made them feel. And then
But that was your coping mechanism, wasn't it? Ultimately, that's how people, some people turn to drink, some people turn to drugs, some people eat, some people don't eat, and that was just your coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I think it's really hard to explain to someone who's never experienced it, but it was, yourself, when you have become there's so much emotions inside you and there's no escape. You can't escape it. In self-harm, whatever that looks like for you, is a release for that second. You actually have a release for a second. And I think that can become quite addictive too then, with that release. But then I made a promise to my husband that I wouldn't do it anymore. And I remember sitting on my arms, like in tears, willing myself not to. And then I knew the tablets weren't for me because I was just so inconsistent. So inconsistent that it was probably making things a whole lot worse. That I remember I delved into self-development. I didn't take it all on board. I took tiny bits that I could, and then gradually over the years became better and better. But then I did experience it again on my third child, which was completely different. But I think I knew with my baby girl, I felt like I wasn't here. I was floating. My body was here. My mind was here. But I instantly knew what this was. So within 4 weeks, I think I'd let it pass and then went to the doctors and was like, right, I'm not feeling myself. Again, went to go down the antidepressant route, but I knew where that took me before. So I just put all the things in place that I'd learned previous years. And then that's how my recovery time was a lot quicker.
Yeah, it was probably because you intervened a lot earlier, wasn't it? It's it was that the last time it was you had 2.5 years of living like that and habit forming, really, in terms of that kind of length of time. So, what's your story, lovely?
So for me, I thought I was diagnosed late, but it wasn't half as late as Kellie there. So after the birth of my daughter, we'd had an amazing pregnancy, like an absolutely amazing birth. Everything was exactly as I dreamed it to be, birthing pool and all that jazz. And I was like, yeah, this is great. And then I was properly diagnosed when she was about 7 months old, just as we'd moved house. But we had an absolutely horrendous time with breastfeeding, which of course, obviously you're told breastfeed. It's really good for the baby. But my body was just kind of not doing it right. I was just my body was making so much milk that I couldn't feed her without expressing first. So I couldn't do it in cafes with my friends and things like that, and we'd meet up in these mum groups, and I'd be the one I'd have to either go and hide in a toilet because I'd have to express in a sink or something first, or I'd walk to Marks and Spencer's in the city centre just to kind of go and sit in a feeding room for 90 minutes, on my own, just having these battles all the time. So that and I was really, really stubborn. Being stubborn's one of my not so great qualities. And we went to a different feeding clinic or different feeding specialist every week. I'm dragging my poor husband around, and he's getting phone calls all the time, while he's at work, me just in tears, and it's not going well, and logging all these feeds down and everything, and just sending myself around the twist, really.
Yeah.
I asked family members, and I said, why don't you just, go on to the bottle? And I was like, no, I can't do it, because I felt like I'd be a failure or letting her down if I did that. Yeah. So we got to about 3.5 months, and then we did change to bottle feeding and things.
Yeah.
but obviously by that point I'd had 3.5 months of like mega sleep deprivation and however many feeds of completely just beating myself up all the time, and it just kind of just spiraled from there really. So I thought I was doing okay, and I was trying to get out and do exercise and things, but I was just so erratic and crying all the time, and it found it really hard to think about things in the future. I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I never really understood the anxiety part of it, but I suppose it was obviously thinking about the future would just set me off, and then I'd just be like on a massive downward spiral then. So, and then obviously going back to work was quite challenging and things. When I did see the GP, he offered me medication and counselling. I got the appointment with the GP because I'd brushed off a few health visitors commenting that maybe I needed some support, and I was like, no, it's fine, I'm just sleep deprived and all the rest of it. And then when we moved house to where we are now, because we moved back home to be near to my family, the health visitor came, and I don't know, it's like she just completely saw straight through me. She said something, and then she left it where she said, oh, just ring me if you feel like, you need to talk or you need some extra support. And it was literally the next day I was like, yeah, I need to sort this out. She got me the doctors and things like that. And then so he offered counselling and medication, and I really didn't want to go on medication. I felt like that was another kind of like fail, to start taking tablets for something that you can't even see. So I kind of started trying to negotiate with the doctor about that, and he was just like, look, you just need in true Sue style, like trying to like, what else do we do? And he was like, he said something to me, I remember it made me burst into tears. He was just like, look, how much time do you want to stay in this state for? When you're gonna miss, he was like saying, you're gonna miss so much of your little girl growing up if you stay in this state. You need to do something. So I was like, oh shit. But the counselling never happened for me because of working shifts. I couldn't have a set time at the same time every week, so I never got counselling. And like Kellie, it was when I started to and I was on the meds for about 3.5 years, but about 2.5 years in is when I started to do some more self-development and things. I thought kind of like exercise was enough to keep it going, and I retrained as a personal trainer, and I was like, oh, benefits of exercise, and which are absolutely outstanding and still a massive tool for me today. But when I was working in a gym, I could see all this like negative language of the way women spoke to themselves and things. And then that sent me thinking, I've still got a lot of work to do here, and I don't want my little girl to grow up here, picking this up from me. So then it all kind of unraveled then through my self-development journey, and that's what eventually got me the next phase of my recovery.
Well, that's brilliant. So really, there's kind of a similar pattern, isn't there, in terms of how you kind of both come out the other side in essence, in that it took almost maybe a bit of help from some medication, and then that moved to kind of self-awareness and self-development. Really interesting, because when I look back to my pregnancies were both very different, because my first one was twins, and everything was, the twins were, like very wanted, we wanted them for a long time, and everything it was like I had to be so careful because they were so precious. I remember being in like the supermarket and people like bumping into me, and literally I was thinking, I'm gonna knock you out in a minute if you come any closer. I'm looking at I'm guarding these precious bundles. Yeah. So, yeah, and I think my mum was a bit like that as well. We moved back home as well to get more support as well with our two when they. But yeah, I remember the sleep deprivation. I was lucky. I had a lot of support with them. And so, but I didn't have that sort of social connection in the same way that a lot of mums do, because it was hard enough to get out the door before 3 o'clock with twins, never mind anything else. And I remember thinking, will I ever be able to go back to work ever again? You know, will I ever be able to be up early enough, because I've had so little sleep through the night and things like that. And it's kind of, when I look back, it is a bit of a blur, and it was probably one of the greatest tests of resilience that I've probably ever been through. But I was pretty lucky that I did have, they were the first grandchildren. I did have, my mum kind of, and a husband that took 4 weeks off to begin with when they were first born. So, that was it was a big help. But I remember, exactly like you, Kellie, I remember that feeling trapped. And the basic things of, like, with twins as well, it's really difficult even to stop to get a pint of milk, because you've got two of them. And actually, to just go to a normal shop, you're not going to leave them both in the car, but actually going with two babies, carrying two, actually having to carry your shopping. It was just like, everything was like even though I was really well organised, I was, a really organised person, it just didn't, my organisation levels had to up it to a whole new level, really hard.
Like, everything's like a mission, isn't it?
Everything was a mission. And like, people kind of, when I see kids with like shoes on now, like babies with these little pretty shoes on, I think, mine never had that. At least he had socks on. They were lucky they got socks on, because I tell you what, trying to get two out the door and one doing while you're trying to get out the door was like a mission in itself. So I can really empathise with that. And I remember some days thinking, oh my goodness, am I having an out-of-body experience here? So I can really kind of empathise that, with that. And also, I didn't want anyone else to look after them as well, because they were so precious. It was like, so I probably could have looked after myself better then as well, and had some time for me, which I didn't want to take. I was kind of probably anxious about what could happen to them and all the rest of it. And then along came surprise number 3. And then my whole world was tipped upside down. And that was just completely different, because it was, by that point, it was like, I've given up on being organised. He just has to fit into this world. Everything just has to happen around him. That was just a completely different experience. So it doesn't, just because you've had it once, it doesn't mean to say,
it does. Well, like I've had it diagnosed twice. Yeah. Half of me thinks, looking back, I had it on my middle child, but different again when you listen to everyone's experiences and how different they are. Like on my second child, I got really caught up in no one loving him like I love him, and it caused a lot of family rows, actually, because I was just like in this headspace. And looking as I've come out of it, like especially now, so much clearer all these years after, I go, oh, what was that? What was I doing there? Like that. So I think I was a bit of postnatal coming in there as well. But it is, And talking about sleep, every time I have a child, I don't sleep in a bed for months. I have to sleep on the sofa, because I'm so worried I'll go into a deep sleep. On my eldest, if I went into a deep sleep, I really struggle getting out of bed and like motivating myself for life. So it would be like, no, I'll sleep on the sofa. I'll only ever have a light sleep. And then obviously you're sleep deprived even more because you're not getting the sleep that you need. Yeah. And so I think sleep's such a massive thing.
Yeah. Well, there's loads of studies, aren't there, that it can have a massive effect on you within about 48 hours to to a week that you're thinking very differently about things. So yeah. So if you could give anyone any advice, for anyone who feels like they might need some help right now, or might be questioning whether they feel like they might have postnatal depression, what would you say to them?
I would say, if you don't want to go to the doctors straight away, have a Google online. And I know Google's the worst, but there are some brilliant forums, and there's a brilliant book as well with different women's experiences in. But then if you're scared about going to the doctors and verbalizing it, write a letter like I did. Just pour your heart into the letter, and all you've got to do is walk into the doctors, hand over the letter, and not say a word. They can know exactly how you're feeling, because I think that is so daunting, especially if you're the type of person to walk into a doctor's and go, oh no, actually I'm fine, if you don't want to say it. Write it all out, and just know that you're not failing. You're not a bad mum, you're not a bad person. Like, this is just something that you're going through right now that's not very nice, and is not a reflection on you as a whole. It's not. Yeah.
So what advice would you give?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a reflection of who you are as a person at all. And I think if you're already thinking I might need to get some help, but you start questioning, do I really, or can I just sort myself out, or will I'll be all right once I've had a few more hours sleep? It's like, just go and get some support, like a health visitor, one of the online charities like Mind or Blurt Project, any one of those, or your GP, because there's no harm in asking at all. And I think although there are like patterns and similarities for people, there's also a lot of it comes out in so many different ways. Like, I thought depression was like not wanting to be with my baby, wanting to sleep all the time, whereas I wanted to be with my baby, but I felt so angry. It came out as a lot of anger for me. So don't think what you picture it being a certain way, and you don't meet that criteria, that can put you off going and getting help, whereas it's actually these labels that it has, it's not that black and white. So just start by taking that step and getting some help.
Yeah. There's a really good questionnaire online. So when you go to the doctors and they diagnose you for depression, they ask you a certain number of questions, or they ask you to fill out a questionnaire, which is called a PH39. And on the NHS website, there is something called a mood questionnaire, and it's really, really good. It asks you really similar questions, and it by the end of it, it'll say, "Oh, I think, yes, okay, you may need to seek advice from your GP," or it says, "Oh, you might have signs of anxiety, but you're not, but try these tips," and then it gives you like some videos and things like that. It's absolutely brilliant. But what I would say is, it's only good if as honest as you are with it, because if you're not true to yourself, it can't help you. And if you're feeling what you think it wants you to put, then obviously it's not going to help you, is it? So, and that's a really big thing, is that self-awareness and admitting to yourself that you might need help.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great tip. That I didn't even know that existed. That's brilliant. So
so why do you think days such as World Mental Health Day are important?
Because they get us talking. They get us having a conversation like this, and to actually realise that is normal. I want to say is not that you're on your own and you're an alien. Is actually a lot of people across the board experience these things, and is just making like us having a conversation accessible to people who might be at home now watching it, experiencing the things that we've experienced. They go, actually, oh, Kelly, Sue, right, okay, these are not the only people. Like, I feel like this. Let me go and get some help. So and it helps people take the help that they might need. So we get us talking. It gets us talking.
Good. Sue, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, obviously everything that Kellie just said there. I think just by more people doing this, and obviously with what you're doing, Emma, it's just helping to normalise the what people perceive as not being very normal, and just having those conversations, like Kellie said, it coming from different people's points of view, and you're seeing it, you come out people's mouths who you may never expect to have had any issues like that. So it's just keeping the conversations going.
Yeah,
definitely.
And to know there's light at the end of the tunnel as well, isn't it? To know that actually, like, I'm better, Sue's better, I'm imagining. And that actually, if you're feeling like that, you can see someone who's been through and they've come at the other end. So there is hope.
Yeah, well, mental health and your well-being, it's dynamic, it changes. That's why we've, through COVID, some people have been, affected, and some people haven't been as affected. It's almost like our well-being is like a big Jenga tower, and sometimes we have people pull, or things pull at those Jenga pieces, and sometimes that falls over, and sometimes we can do something and shove that piece back in again. Or isn't it, that you kind of get more and more things and then it overflows. So, it
is dynamic, definitely, like you say. It's not like, I thought for a long time I'm recovered, and then things have happened, especially this year, like you say, where you've had some of them real drops and wobbles again, and it's perfectly normal. It's just part of like which bits of your toolkits are missing, which what else do I need? Maybe I need something different now. So it's not like a tick box done. But exactly like you're saying, dynamic's a great way to describe it.
And it's just that it's that whole kind of, it's that once you start getting an awareness of your mental health, then you become better and better, stronger, more resilient. All of the things, you find your strengths, you do things, do things that you probably wouldn't have done before. You get to know you better, but also sometimes you kind of go, actually, you know what? I need to stop a bit now. I need to, it doesn't mean to say, a lot of people are fixed. It's like they recover, if that makes sense. There's so many people that recover, but that doesn't mean to say that we don't still need to have that awareness to kind of go, actually, you know what? I've been working too hard. Right, I need to slow down a bit, or actually, I'm feeling a bit crap. Yeah, is it just a bad day, or is there more to it?
I don't know about you, Sue and Emma, but going through what I've been through, I am very much now protective of my mental health. Like, my mental health comes first. So I know my triggers. I know if I've had a nightmare, something's going on. I know if I got certain feelings in my body with something going on. And rather than letting that build up, like you say, you get your toolbox out and you're like, right, what is going on? What's here because to me, my mental health for my family and for myself is everything. And I've got certain boundaries in place now that I would have never put in place, because it's just really, really important. It's really, really important.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies, for talking so openly about your experiences, especially Kellie. I know that, in terms of self-harm as well, because I think that's the first time you've ever talked about it. So I'm absolutely I know Kellie quite well, but I'm absolutely kind of over the moon that you've trusted me to and my forum to share that with. So thank you very much.
You create a lovely space, to be honest. It's really nice.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add, ladies? We have got some comments, but I can't actually access them, so I want to open them up. I'm frightened that then we'll start and we'll all come back on. I can't access them, unfortunately, because they're on. It only gives you comments on one platform, but we've got one comment that's come through here, and Alice has put, it's a very good subject to raise. So that's great. So is there anything else you want to add, ladies?
No, thanks for having me.
We can go and have a look at the comments if anybody's put anything specific and have a little help and things. But yeah, no, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and thank you for doing it. Loved having you. Wonderful lessons. Okay, thank you ever so much.